Hmm. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Off Road. I'm Frank Ferraro, and I'm here with our co-host, Andrea Cattaneo, co-producer of The Heart of Influence. Today's guest is Brian J. Esposito, CEO of Diamond Lake Minerals and the founder of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, a multi-industry platform involved in technology, digital assets, hospitality, aviation, and a lot more. He's known in the space as a connector, a strategist, and someone who builds partnerships across a lot of different verticals. We're going to dive into his journey, his strategy, and how the future of capital markets are evolving. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Frank, such a pleasure to be here, pal. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on. Hello,
We're so
Andrea.
delighted. We are so delighted to have you. And Frank, I always love doing these with you. And it's going to be a real treat today because Brian Esposito is extraordinary. And let's just be organic and have a conversation. Brian, we'd love to hear some of the things that are exciting you today. And of course, I'm always curious about other details, but
Sure.
Yeah. The one thing that I noticed, because I've been following Brian since you told me about him a few weeks ago. Brian, you went to the Futuristic Blockchain Conference.
Yeah.
And I really
Yes,
wanted to
sir.
go there. How was it? Tell me, you spoke there. How,
I,
how
I,
was
I
that?
honored to speak there. Diamond Lake was a tremendous partner and sponsor, along with Berkshire Hathaway, their Bahamas division. And I got to tell you, the crowd of these conferences, which I tend to not go to, just to be honest
Okay.
with you, it's evolving. It's a very mature audience. Businesses of all kinds, from mom and pops to Fortune 1000 companies, have representation there. Now you have banks participating in being involved with these conferences and discussing the future of tokenization, digital assets, and their atmosphere. So where it was 13 years ago when I began going down this journey on how you bring tokenization into private and now public companies, much different energy, much different professionalism, with a sprinkle of what they like to do for those crowds of excitement and razzle and dazzle. But it's really becoming a lot more sophisticated than it used to be, which is great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you see some of the trends? Have you seen any trends down there? Anything like that would make us excited?
I've seen a lot of trends in utilizing tokenization in travel and hospitality. I saw some really interesting movements in how do you get people to utilize a token in those types of environment and build a value system around those types of guest services and community. A lot of financial services. Yeah, I think you've seen a tremendous momentum in that since BlackRock has gotten involved, and now all these banks are allowing stablecoin or digital assets and their clients' own digital assets without debanking them. So a lot of them are trying to get involved in what has happened with Circle and MoonPay and I think just like you have Visa, Discover, Mastercard, and American Express, I don't think you're going to see. I think you're going to see the same type of players when it comes to who's doing the financial transactions for on and off ramp. There'll be a handful of major players, and then a lot of these maybe smaller entities trying to collect some fees here and there. I think ticketing is going to be a tremendous movement in tokenization on, again, allowing for people to have direct access to validating and certifying that they are going to a venue or a conference. And then what other ancillary utility or rewards or upside can you get from having that ticket on your chain in your digital wallet? Here's the problem. Everybody's trying to get in on it now. The companies that were well established and had a strategy, like I tend to think that we had in my private holdings and then also with our public company, we're seeing amazing inbound on companies all over the world that want to be tokenized. So we have a program, we invite them in. We invite very select few in, only companies that we know that we can also add value to. Because if we're going to put a token or a security token out in the market, we want to make sure it has value. We want to make sure it hits its benchmarks on whether it's dividend distribution, revenue share, or some sort of equity ownership. We're not just going to take anybody. We're going to take companies and partners that we know we can at least bring that value with our own business development and relationships. So right now, there's a huge push on how do companies get involved? How does IP or assets get involved? And hopefully those companies do their due diligence on choosing the right partners on what they're tokenizing and how they're tokenizing it.
I'm
Oh,
so glad you're bringing this conversation to light because there are a lot of folks out there that are hungry for this and they don't really know. And if you don't mind, because you're so brilliant about all of these things, you've been in it for a while, can you explain maybe in your own words briefly for the folks who are just learning about this,
sure.
how tokenization enhances core business economically, not theoretically,
Yeah.
and what real world-class assets, rights, or cash flows are improving because of it.
Absolutely. So I'll go back to the brilliant comment, and I appreciate the kind words, but that's only because I made every mistake you can possibly think of, and hopefully I've checked all those boxes. So
You have.
brilliance comes with learning experiences and just getting your ass kicked. So still here, still trying to smile here and there when I can. So tokenization, depending on who you talk to, you can get lost in the first sentence on the technology. I try to keep it as simple as possible. And that's why we've gotten a lot of momentum and interest behind us, is because, listen, it's just the evolution of money, right? It's the evolution of transactions. We used to trade seashells, then it went into bartering and precious metals and cash, credit cards, wires, the list, PayPal, Venmo, and now there's a new digital way of transacting. What's really great, and you guys may relate to this, for whatever reason, I've been on so many different roller coaster rides in my journey, but I've even been in positions where people tried to sell me things they don't actually own. So let's just talk about the first part of tokenization, where it's called immutable, where you have evidence on an online ledger proving ownership in something. So that's the first amazing value prop for someone like me that gets pitched deals all the time. You can go to an online ledger, or think of a giant Excel file that's proven that this person actually owns what they say they own and how much of it that they own. And you can follow the breadcrumbs to see if it ever transacted before, what wallet put money in, what wallet took money out. So you have this amazing fact-checking system. And now let's just take it a little step further. Think of crowdfunding. Think of maybe you participated in the Start Engine, a WeFund, or a Dealmaker crowdfunding campaign. Now, when you look at tokenization, think of that on a global scale, where you can take an asset, a piece of IP, a piece of music, a building, a home, the list goes on. You want to fund a TV or film project, anything that you want to bring money into. How I've looked at it and why I've positioned my world into this, instead of going to tens or dozens of people to raise hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, now with tokenization, because hundreds of millions of people have a digital wallet on their phone, you're going to hundreds of millions, potential billions of people to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. So
it could be pennies or dollars when you're amassing so much quickly.
Yes. And what excites me about that is technology's caught up to that. Networks have caught up to that. Even constant connections to internet, such as Starlink. Things are evolving where you may live in a hut, but you have an Android device and you have some sort of an internet connection, even if it's intermittently. So what you've done now, because of tokenization, there's two things that are happening. You're giving somebody in any part of the world the ability to have ownership into something. Now, some things happen there. So you're actually providing what the good old boys network never let anybody else in the world in on. The IPO moments, the pre-IPO moments, the special deals that are closed door deals. Now, a building in Manhattan, somebody in India, somebody in Australia, somebody in Singapore can own 0.00001% of that building. It's never been able to be done before, but tokenization allows for that fractional ownership into that asset. The other thing that happens is the psychological approach to somebody now having ownership in something when they never thought they would have ownership in anything in their life. So you're building people's confidence, and you're allowing them to have an asset in their household or in their tent or in their cave, and the ability to earn from that asset. And that's game changing for humanity and elevating this massive gap between the haves and the have-nots. Tokenization is leveling that field. Now, what you're going to see happen, which is already happening, is Bitcoin was supposed to be for the masses. This is why I'm not a Bitcoin fan. Bitcoin is now in this manipulation machine, institutional machine, where they're just going to keep throwing whatever they typically throw into that. Or the BlackRocks of the world, they're still going to tokenize their assets, but it's only their illiquid assets and only to their current community. So that's all happening. Where we play is everything else in the world that could be tokenized, or anything else in the world that you can attach a token to a revenue or a profit share. And somebody anywhere in the world can earn a few pennies a month, a few dollars a month, a few thousands of dollars a month. And we want to be the partner to provide. It's an industry agnostic approach with the right asset, the right balance sheet, the right management. That token is extremely valuable.
Yeah. When we talk about balance sheet and stuff like that, that's like a capital markets term.
An old capital markets term, by the way.
So one of the things, I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm working on, and we can talk about this off the podcast, is I'm doing a program now for governance, a governance program. Whereas it's just, I just did a paper on it actually, and it's the same. You have corporate structure, you have crypto structure. It's the same thing, except instead of having votes, you have votes with your digital wallet. You have to be a token holder to do it. You can restrict, you can transfer, just like a transfer agent does. And I think that the blockchain companies going forward, if they want to have real credibility, I think they have to have that component within their contracts.
I would agree with you 98%. I still think it'd be very difficult and probably not the right fiduciary duty if a 16-year-old kid inherits their father or their grandfather's wallet, and now they become a major token holder in that entity. And now they have voting power over the entire structure of that business because they receive that authority. I still think I think you always got to get the community involved. And my whole world is building communities and building audiences. But you don't want a community of people that have tremendous capital because they were smart enough to buy meme coins and this and that. Maybe they don't have the experience to properly vote on this business.
Real issues. Yeah.
But I agree with you because you want engagement. You want the community to feel heard and validated and verified and safe. But I still think there needs to be a governance on top of the governance where, listen, this vote is not appropriately being called out because now the token holders or somebody, think of a Carl Icahn, for example, coming in and just taking over a community and disrupting the entire asset or the entire business because they bought in.
Yeah, no. And there's things to do with that. You could have, there's different programs that you can attach to that. It could be non-transferable for a certain amount of time if it's to accredited people.
But again, you're absolutely right. But that's the fun yet scary part. When you make that smart contract, you have to think of all of these things.
A lot of variables.
In the foundation. You can't go and change the basement. And
Trust me,
so it doesn't work that way. So you got to sit in that room and you got to whiteboard every possible situation and scenario because a great asset could all of a sudden implode because all of a sudden you didn't think of one specific criteria in that smart contract that completely disrupted the entire value proposition.
100% agree. Yep, 100% agree. I like your analogy on that one. That was really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So what about at this point, I know because of Frank's 25 years in corporate roadshow, he was my go-to market maker back when I was a young mommy, new attorney, and I don't know how many markets he made, thousands. He was my 15C to 11 guy. And there are a lot of analogies to how business used to be to how things are now. Stock transfer agents with measuring things. And I'm just wondering, a lot of thinking is going into a user acquisition plan for token holders. It's very different than how stock holders come in. This is what you're saying, Brian, is this makes it so much more accessible to the masses that people everywhere, the utility of this is people can become like the equivalent of a shareholder very quickly and participate in the markets. And it can really elevate the planet. These are like real world problems, I think, that can be solved as a result. And I know you're a big thinker in terms of what's going to make the world a better place. Are you thinking cleaner water? You're thinking of things that are above and beyond what a company would do. Like, what world problems can we solve if lots of people cared about this and could put a few bucks in? It's what they're spending at Starbucks. We could move mountains. That's what excites me. And I have a feeling it excites you too, because you're someone who wants to have an impact. Am I sensing you correctly, Brian?
Your senses are on fire, Andrea. So yes, even the fact that you mentioned fresh water, I don't think we ever even spoke about this. So for over 20 years, I've been heavily involved in the mindset that having access to clean drinking water is a human right. And over 30% of the world doesn't have access to that. So one of my private holdings and one of our partnerships is H2O Securities. The token's H2ON. And Julius Stein is the CEO. And we've actually created an amazing program for tokenizing water, allowing for financial mechanisms for tokenizing water treatment plants around the world, getting them up and running in a third of the time and a third of the cost. And when you do this on a global scale, you change the dynamic of, we're not putting a water treatment plant in this remote area in India, even though there's 100,000 people need it. There's no economy around it to support it. But when you look at tokenizing it and elevating humanity and giving life access to free drinking water or fresh, some sort of fresh, clean drinking water at some sort of cost, but on a global scale where there's maybe this algorithm connecting all these plants, and you have an arbitrage on this plant is earning, this plant is not, but there's a value system in that token for everybody to earn some juice on every month, and providing the ability to bring water to people or life. Yes, that is exactly the things that I want to be involved in and do. Even AI, I get so pissed off with AI sometimes. I'm like, oh my, all this billions and billions and trillions of dollars of value. Wouldn't it great if it was a global movement to say, we're all going to go on an AI, but we're going to cure cancer, right? Or we're all going to go on an AI and we're going to solve food insecurities. The fact that all this money is shotgun spread and so just out there, it's offensive to someone like me that works extremely hard to provide value for myself, for our shareholders, and also to create a system that's sustainable and provide a return for whoever is involved in that movement. I'll take a beat, but yes, what you're saying is absolutely right. However, it always falls back on leadership, back to what Frank said, on governance, on ensuring there's some sort of accountability for that leadership. And there's a management system in place to be held accountable for saying, hey, we're going to raise money for this. We're going to do a token offering for this, and actually do it and actually provide value. Because the biggest issue right now is everybody wants to get involved in tokenization, but the more rug pulls, and I hate these terms, that means you put money into something that's not real. It used to be called vaporware back in the day. The more of those things that are happening, the harder it is for legitimate companies to have a foothold.
You know, it's amazing. I'll go on Pump and these people will talk about how great their project is in their company, but it's all a pump. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And people they like, some novices will just say, oh, let me buy into this. This is the beginning. Yeah, it's different today. That's for sure. The one thing that we're talking about, AI agents. You know, Andrea, I know you have probably 200 AI agents at your law firm.
It's growing in leaps and bounds. We're up to 500 Gen 2 agents, and it's extraordinary how much can be done, how much time frames can be collapsed. And to Brian's point, if all of this is put to good use, what's going on with AI, what's going on with tokenization, it can be focused on real issues. It could solve problems that matter. And yes, lots of people can make money, and money is the engine for so many things. But the fact that it could solve so many problems is exciting to me. I get chills hearing you talk about it, Brian, because I know it's all possible. And with the governance you're speaking of, Frank, the management that's necessary, it's still less bureaucracy than what we've become used to with government, what we've come used to with companies, and how long most of them take to execute. So what I'm excited about is it's almost like putting the equivalent of some type of Teflon inside these wires so that we can have wormhole. Remember wormholes in Star Wars, where you can really just very quickly execute and get things done. And just if we can, I know we're running low on time, but I'd love to get some of your insights, because Brian, things that a lot of people don't. You're very diversified. You definitely do not have the typical profile of someone where you could just say, oh yeah, he's
I
like
can't
CEO
explain
of a
what I
public
do.
company.
It's okay.
So the insights that
You have Espoisms. Wait, I want to hear an
Espoisms.
Espoism.
Yeah, I got that from Yogi, my boy Yogi.
But just something that you could share, like a pattern recognizer that you are.
Yeah.
Maybe some insights on what's going to make all these entities that you've helped grow and that you've helped. Maybe what's the common thread? And it might be more simple. I've heard you say such beautiful things like you watch how someone treats the wait staff. You want to get to know their character.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's part of that.
Always.
Have the right people who execute. Like,
Always.
what other nuggets of insight might you share? Because I value them, and I know our audience.
Thank you. I value you guys too. And Andrea, we go back a long time. I've always held you so highly respected and admired. I don't want to always repeat myself, but for me, it's very simple. My world is, I've become the Kevin Bacon of business. So it's easier for me to say I don't get involved in firearms, tobacco, adult entertainment industries, and a couple of others. But anything else, I'm excited to be involved with. I love getting into a new industry and getting my ass kicked and understanding where the bodies are buried, who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. But it is very simple. General business, if you want to be in business, you need revenues. If you want to stay in business, you need to be profitable. That's the common thread of all these, my reach. When it comes to who I work with, integrity, morals, values, ethics, empathy. Empathy is one of the biggest. It went from 5 to number 1 now. I need to see empathy in anybody I work with. I need them to feel people's pain, understand markets. Because if you don't understand that and you don't care about people, I want nothing to do with you. I don't want anything to do with you because you're just not a good person or you're a lost soul. And I hate judging people. I'll just say, I just say you don't work well with me. I know what I need. I'm not your priest. I'm not your therapist. I'm not there to try to get you on a better path. So that's what I'll align with. And then if you have a disconnect with humanity, like a lot of CEOs and people wonder why did Intel turn upside down? Why is Sears no longer around? Because they go to their 84th floor in their metropolitan city office and they just sit there and they just think they understand. Then they go down the elevator into their private car. Then they go to their country club. Then they go to their private airport. Then they fly to St. Bar. Like, you can't do that. You can do that, but you also should go and hang out in St. Louis, right? You should also go and hang out in Detroit. You should also go and hang out in different cities around the country, around the world, and understand what are the masses feeling. Because if your product is selling butter and eggs and somebody can't pay that, that's going to disrupt your entire lifestyle and your entire shareholder base. So that's why when you say I see the world differently, that's because I travel all over the place. I sit and talk to people. I listen to people. I observe for rent signs everywhere. I observe if the price of rent for this little 1,200 square foot store is $8,000 and it's been for rent. That means the building owner is not collecting their money. That means the local economy is out of whack. That means nobody's going in there because they can't sustain the rent based upon the products that they're selling. And this all happens before. I'm not brilliant. It happened in 07. It happened years before that. Every decade or so, there's a correction. But for some reason, whether it's a psychological amnesia, people want to forget because that was a traumatic part of their life. But like I see the world like, oh my God, it's bad right now. I don't care what the stock market says. It is bad. People are hurting. Credit card debt's at all-time high. People are 3 or 4 months behind on their car and their home payments or their mortgage payments or their rent payments. There's something wrong. Yet media news is, oh, look at NVIDIA, look at this, look how much the stock market is. We're fixing tariffs, we're putting tariffs back. It's all noise and confusion because you can't focus on the real pain because that would cause concern and nerves and rattle the markets. But at some point, the data can no longer be manipulated. At some point, there's a come to Jesus moment. So that's what I see. Yeah. And I prepare what I'm working on and protect my little bubble and control what I can control and always try to find ways to build value and create opportunities. And when you're as diversified as I am now, that's not because I want to own everything. It's because I never want to feel that pain again. I want to make sure all of our holdings can always just sustain and properly build and grow. And if company Z is negative, but company R is extremely positive, we're going to share resources and we're going to balance them out. Yep. And that's the world I've built. And I'm just going to keep building it. That's simple as that.
Awesome. That was great.
Was it?
Yeah, I thought so.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's on 35 seconds of sleep, too.
I want to know what the future is for you. What's the future? You seem like you're doing everything. Next? What's the future?
Honestly, the work I'm doing with Andrea and her team and Unblinded and Callagee has been interesting for me. Like there's something very interesting with our worlds coming together and the great work and momentum that we're creating.
And all based in what, if I may just interject?
Yeah, please.
Integrity-based human influence. It's the core. It was my father. It was all of these things that I know are with the right intention and grounded in truth. So back over to you, because that's so important.
Yeah. And this is so, Frank, to answer your question and to be completely honest and transparent, as a public company should be and as a human being should be, this is the second time in my life where I'm going all in on something and joining, or what do you guys call it, merging ecosystems, right? That's my human nature, is to bring worlds together and create a massive impact. I did it before with the wrong people or person, and I said, I'm never doing that again. But for some reason, there's this major energy and positivity around Andrea's world and my world, and bringing that together. I believe the future is going to be really incredible, because if you have people going forward with a mission and backed by, again, integrity, morals, ethics, and values, and just want to do good. And there's resources to support that good. Even if we hit a wall that's a million stories high, the right people with the right reason and the right mission can overcome that. One wrong person, hell, they'll leave you in the trenches with gunfire, or they'll shoot you themselves. I've been in those moments. And I said, I'm never going to do that again. But the fact that I'm doing that now, it's the right timing, the right alignment. My world has evolved so dramatically. What Andrea's doing in her world has evolved so dramatically. And I'm excited about what we're going to do together and tangible, real impact, not bullshit or fluff. Like, we did that. Look what we did, and look who we helped, and look at the impact that it gave to humanity.
Can I just acknowledge how much of a doer you are? You're talking about speaking with people all the time, being out in the world. Hadn't spoken with Brian in a while. I invite him to my show. The role play with Sean evolves into subjects that both Brian and Sean are very interested in. And the Bruce Springsteen aspect is only one tiny part of all of these things. And just in a follow-up conversation, and yeah, I could really do these things. And I'm saying, Sean, in his role play, wasn't exaggerating. That whole thing that might sound like a fantasy for most others, he meant everything he said, even about the amounts of money and what type of influence he'd like to have in combining ecosystems with people that can really have a world result. And the dollar amounts that he was using were not fictitious. So here we are talking. The next thing you know, Brian, we caused a meeting. Brian is having what was going to be a breakfast, a cup of coffee. He's got a place in LBI. This was probably a 4 or 5 hour beautiful meeting.
Yeah.
And Sean generally does not get on the phone with somebody or meet with somebody right after a show. That never happens. But I'm on the phone with Sean in ShopRite. I'm saying, you got to sit down. Brian happens to live in LBI, which is Sean's happy place. And you are an actualizer. In our language, you make things happen, Brian. You don't just, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Let's have a conversation. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm just, more people need to model you. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, well, thank you. I have my flaws, so don't model those things, but model the good things that I've always tried to do.
I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming up. And I got to tell you, I want to thank you for coming on today.
You too, sir.
We got some great content here. I'm really happy you came on.
Me too. And I love the things you showed me with your vision and tokenization and the digital assets, and excited to see where we align there as well, Frank.
We'll definitely touch base after the show. But how can somebody reach you, Brian?
Just call you, and then you can call me, Frank. No, Brian J. Esposito on all socials. I get back to everybody. I don't have an assistant or a secretary. I'm the person that's there answering everybody. EIE.ROCKS. EIE.rocks is my private holding company. You can see what I publicly share there and all the companies. And then diamondlake.com. DLMI is the public company that I'm proud to be CEO and leading forward since August of 23. And again, anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm honored and humbled. I think that shows a place of strength. I think a lot of people are intimidated to try to reach out to people, but if you do it right and clever and just shoot a note to somebody that say, hey, I want to talk to you, you'd be surprised who gets back to you. And anybody has any questions or thoughts on what I'm doing, I'm an open book. Would love to hear from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you. And we'll catch everybody next time.